Ole Miss has had some pretty good running backs in recent memory. Guys like Jordan Wilkins, Jerrion Ealy, Snoop Connor, Scotty Phillips, and Jalen Walton were all pretty big names in the Ole Miss uniform and got a chance to play on Sundays. Lane Kiffin has done a tremendous job rebuilding the Ole Miss program, but right now, he has a running back who is better than all 5 of those players and is only a true freshman. He is by far the best true freshman running back in all of college football, and he is taking over both the SEC and college football as a whole right now. In today's video, we're going to talk about his insane rise, go through how he got to this point, what he's doing for Ole Miss right now, and what I think of him in the future. But before we get started, we're less than 5,000 subscribers away from 100K, so be sure to help me out by hitting that subscribe button, leave a like if you want to support today's video, turn on post notifications so you never miss when I upload, and let me know what player or topic I could cover next. Now, let's get started. So you're probably wondering who the subject of today's video is, and it is none other than true freshman running back Quinshon Judkins. But in order to understand how Judkins got to this point, we first need to go back in time. Quinshon grew up in the state of Alabama and always loved playing running back. He never in fact changed positions, as he said, quote, "I've always been a running back. It's the only position I have ever wanted to play since I was 9. Quinshon was athletic, loved the game, and worked hard, so when he eventually got to Pike Road High School, he would get a chance to play early on and eventually would blow up as a sophomore. His athletic abilities were on full display as he ran for over 1,000 yards that year, and college scouts slowly began to take notice. Things got even more hyped up his junior year, and he started to become one of the top players and recruits in the state of Alabama. Judkins was only a 3-star player though. He'd start to gain some big-time offers from schools such as Ole Miss, Arkansas, Auburn, Florida, Florida State, Michigan, Notre Dame, and Penn State, but where would Judkins end up going? Well, he would release a final 3 of Ole Miss, Auburn, and Notre Dame, and all of them were in it at one point. But where would Judkins end up going? Well, first he'd have to have his senior year, which was hampered by an injury, but he would still manage to run for 1,524 yards and 26 touchdowns in only 9 games of action. Now he could solely focus on recruiting and ultimately decided to go with Ole Miss. While at times both Auburn and Notre Dame looked like locks to land him, Ole Miss was always there, and they seemed to make him their #1 priority, so he stuck with them, and Ole Miss fans were pumped and thought they got an underrated gem. Judkins credited the coaching staff, their system, and their recent success as to reasons why he chose the Rebels. In his prep career, Judkins had an insane 4,220 yards and 67 touchdowns. These insane numbers and potential led his head coach to believe that he was going to play on Sundays in the future. He said, quote, "The shelf life for running back in the NFL is about 5 years, and that is because your body can only take so much. Quinshon is a guy who can easily add weight and keep both his speed and athleticism intact. But he knows he has to keep working, and nothing will be given to him at any point." Ultimately, it does seem his coach was onto something, but we hear these same words about pretty much every 4- and 5-star recruit, so pretty much everyone at the time took it with a grain of salt. But quietly, this was one of the most criminally underrated commitments in the country, and the Rebels were definitely getting a gem. One On3 scout said, quote, "I think Ole Miss is a great fit for Quinshon. They do a lot of zone reads, and Quinshon is very familiar with that and good at that." Quinshon then added this. He said, quote, "That is perfect for me. We run our offense out of the shotgun here at Pike Road, just like they do at Ole Miss, so I'm very comfortable with that. I really like the fit." Judkins was extremely happy to be committed to Ole Miss, but he knew he was going to have to impress Lane Kiffin if he wanted a chance to play right away. He'd end up doing that in his final high school game, as in their state title matchup, Kiffin would come and watch, and Judkins proved he was the guy, and his hard work came full circle. After the game, he said, quote, "It's a great feeling. There's no better feeling. It's been a goal of mine since day one to come in and win a state championship with everybody I've worked so hard with, and we established this goal over the summertime. It's definitely a surreal moment right now, but I knew if we worked hard going 1-0 every week, we would eventually get to this point. I just can't explain it." Quinshon had pretty much achieved everything he could do during his prep career, but it was not good enough to earn him that 4th star. According to 24/7 Sports, Judkins was a 3-star recruit, the number 46 running back, and the 562nd best player in the class of 2022. He was your average 3-star running back going to a loaded backfield at an SEC school, so expectations for him as a true freshman were pretty low, but what he has done so far is unthinkable. So going into the 2022 college football season, Ole Miss was fresh off a 10-plus win season, led by their star quarterback Matt Corral and the running back duo of Jerrion Ealy and Snoop Connor. Lane Kiffin was SEC Coach of the Year, and Ole Miss was headed in the right direction. Except the team would have a lot of attrition at some very important positions. Luke Altmaier and USC transfer Jackson Dart would battle it out at quarterback, Then they had a couple of guys come in at the running back position. You saw both Connor and Ely head off to the NFL, so former SMU star running back Ulysses Bentley would transfer in. He was not the best transfer though, as former 5-star and TCU transfer Zachary Evans would also transfer in. Everyone penciled both Evans and Bentley to be the top 2 guys, so how on earth was this 3-star true freshman supposed to crack the depth chart? Well, I guess he worked hard and impressed. One local newspaper had this to say about Judkins over the summer. Quote, Quinshon has gotten reps with the top offensive group this spring and has not looked overwhelmed by the college game. Judkins is not likely to lead the Rebels in rushing come this fall, but Ole Miss loves to use a lot of backs, and Judkins has been impressive in his first editions. While they did somewhat do a good job of foreshadowing what would happen, they were also dead wrong because he has proven every single person wrong. Judkins would make his first collegiate game against Troy as they'd win 28-10, and he'd have 87 yards and a touchdown in that one. In week 2, he showed that it wasn't a fluke as he went for over 100 yards in a win over Central Arkansas. This was a pretty good start, and it seemed he was starting to get more reps than both Evans and Bentley. That was definitely the case in week 3, as he would run the ball 19 times for 98 yards and reach the end zone twice in a 42-0 victory over Georgia Tech. Now, the Rebels were 3-0, and it seemed that Judkins was the lead back on the team. In week 4, the Rebels would host Tulsa, and in that game, Judkins would run the ball 27 times for 140 yards and 2 scores. He did have a costly fumble, but they'd end up winning 35-27. After that, the Rebels would have their first test of the year as number 7 Kentucky would come to town. In a 22-19 victory, Judkins would run the ball 15 times for 106 yards and a score, and then he had 46 yards and 2 touchdowns in a road victory over Vanderbilt. Ole Miss was now 6-0, and Judkins was definitely the number 1 option on the team. In mid-October, they'd play against Auburn, and that's when his hot streak would really begin to start. He'd have 139 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground, and also caught a touchdown out of the air. The next weekend against LSU, he'd run the ball 25 times for 111 yards and 2 scores, but they'd end up losing by 25 points to the Tigers. This past weekend, Judkins put his talent on full display as he ran the ball 34 times for 205 yards and a touchdown. He has pretty much been unstoppable this season as he has 14 total touchdowns, 180 carries, and 1,036 total yards. He also averages nearly 6 yards per carry, and he leads all freshman running backs in pretty much every area. The guy runs hard, has put up big numbers, has helped Ole Miss's offense have a lot of success, and remember, he is only 18 years old. He's playing against some of the best defenders and top NFL draft prospects in the country week in and week out, and it looks like the sky is going to be the limit for him. Ole Miss has had some really good running backs over the last few years, but it looks like Judkins is the best of them, and it also looks like scouts definitely missed out and whiffed on him coming out of high school. I don't understand why he was not a 4-star recruit, and he's making everyone pay right now. Lane Kiffin definitely struck gold with him, and it's been a pleasant surprise seeing Judkins play this well. Zach Evans is still likely going to be a big-time NFL draft prospect, but I'm definitely curious to see how Quinshon will do over the next 2 years. With him having such a hot start, expectations for him will get a lot higher, and he is now setting a very high standard for his play. Only time will tell how he'll end up doing the next 2 years, but if he can continue it, then his high school coach was right. He's going to be an NFL player. But what do you guys think? If you're an Ole Miss fan, what do you think of Quinshon Judkins? If you're a fan of another school, who is another player or freshman I could take a look at next? And also before you go, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and check out all my other videos on the end screen. I hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.